This is the journey of Collin Morikawa's P7cm iron from block to bag. The journey begins inside the TaylorMade CNC lab, and it all starts with a single block of billet material. Here you can see the billet block on a CNC going through the rough cutting phase where we start to mill out the shape of Collin's soon-to-be new iron. In order to keep the cutting tool from getting too hot, it's important to spray the tool with a cooling liquid to ensure both quality of the cut and longevity of the tool. The first pass is to go through and rough cut out the shape of the iron and the supports. Now that the rough cutting has been completed, we're going to go through and start to face mill the iron itself. It's important that the striking surface is perfectly flat. You see multiple passes here with an end mill going across the face, followed by our score line engraving. Score lines are what control both launch and spin of the golf ball. It's important that these are both conforming and perform at the highest level. Now that the face milling is complete, we're going to flip the iron over and finish machining both the hosel and the backside of the iron. Finally, as we've achieved our final thicknesses and cosmetic features, you see us engraving the P7cm as well as that metal T in the corner, signifying that this is a TaylorMade product designed specifically for Collin Morikawa. Once the machining of the iron head has been complete, we need to cut away the support structures used to fixturing it during the CNC process, and finally polish off the support tabs to create the finished product that will go in Collin's bag. Here you can see our expert craftsman working those support structures off of the iron, making sure to not affect the top line geometry or sole geometry, which is going to drive both the cosmetics at address and the performance through the turf. You see us working through a various number of polishing wheels here that determines how much material you're removing with each pass, and ultimately the final finish on the iron, whether it be a tour satin scratch or mirror finish as seen on the back bar. The final finishing touch is the paint fill for the head before we get into the full club assembly and drop it into Collin's bag. And here you can see the final version of the P7cm with that faceted back bar geometry intended to give the best feel possible and impact, as well as precise control over the sole geometry, which is driving what Collin prefers to feel at that point of impact as the club moves through the turf. The first step in the build process is to cut his iron shaft to length. That's going to drive the overall length of the club build. Once we have the iron shaft cut to length, the next step is to bond in the head. Now with that head you have a hosel cartridge, some epoxy, and glass centering beads that allow us to make sure we get a high strength bond between the head and the shaft. Finally, we're going to install a grip onto the end of the shaft here. Collin likes a couple extra wraps of tape along with that Golf Pride Z grip that you see being installed. And ultimately, you're now looking at the exact same thing Collin sees when he's standing at address. And that's the start to finish journey of Collin Morikawa's P7cm from block to bag.